Your home for our Atlanta Falcons, Hawks, and Atlanta United. Your teams play here. Sports Radio 92.9, The Game.
Let's start with last night. Now, I get it. It's cliche because it's one of my most unfavorite or most distasteful things in all of sports is having to watch preseason football and pay for freight. We knew that the Steelers were coming with their ones. We knew we were going to rest ours and go with the twos. So what do you think last night?
Well, their ones are clearly better than our twos.
I think that's
I think my most disturbing thing, you're breaking in basically a new quarterback.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes has played more in the preseason than Desmond Ridder.
I know. And Aaron Rodgers is, you got Aaron Rodgers going.
And he demanded to play. Aaron Rodgers, I got to get in there and play.
And it's funny because I was just talking to a couple of guys that work for Atlanta United here at the headquarters up here in Marietta. And by the way, I apologize if I didn't say this is not open to the public. This is a closed event for the media, so they don't want to watch these guys drop dead and have kids that are seeing it.
Oh, no.
But the guys in the media right out there in this match. But they were asking me about same thing you just talked about, and like, is Ridder ready? What's the story? The only answer I can give you is what Michael Rothstein told us the other day. Earlier in the summer, Carl was saying he thinks he's going to be fine. I said I wasn't quite sure. I liked the way he looked in preseason. I think he looked the ball going out quicker, he's making decisions quicker, but I still wanted to see more of him.
Well, that 10-minute drive, he was in there. He looked good until the wheels fell off when they got to the other side, and he got a turnover and a couple of penalties and everything else.
But as I told the guys today, the bottom line is Arthur Smith is banking on this dude. Mm-hmm. And if Arthur Smith screws this up and this blows up by week 5, and all of a sudden we got to go to Taylor Heineke. Now we had a solid backup who's played the playoff games and won games for Washington. But yeah, all I can tell you is the dude who's around him, sees him every day, and is closer to him than we are, is rolling with him. And I know that still doesn't make fans happy. I'm just telling you like it is.
I'm just thinking though, because this has been Arthur Smith's philosophy. Really, don't play your starters that much at all in the preseason. It seems like what did they start in the last 2 seasons? They started 0-1. They didn't look ready in week 1, especially 2 years ago against the Eagles.
2 years ago, that was more veterans on that squad. Matt Ryan's on that team, and he admitted to us during the season on our show. You'll hear, by the way, Arthur Smith again with us right here on 92.9 The Game midweek. He said he screwed it up. He said he had to do it all over again. He would have gotten those veterans more reps.
But he's duplicating it this year, too.
In this case, it's like nobody's got this consensus on how to handle the 3 games. Some coaches aren't playing their starters. Some guys are playing like a series. We've had a guy, and I get the argument, 4 games under his belt and a quarter or a drive against the Bengals, which culminates in an interception, although there were some circumstances around that, pass interference, and there was a stupid call on Lindstrom. It's still, if you didn't watch the game. So it's the thing. You're in L.A. or Seattle or Chicago. You haven't watched the Minnesota Falcons. Well, let's see. Ridder's got a pick, and they just got beat by the Steelers 28-0.
Yeah,
so the good news is maybe the odds on us go up. So if you're out in Vegas or you're up at Cherokee in North Carolina at Harris, you can put some money on the Falcons because the odds are probably pretty good.
Yeah, but any analysis on the Falcons outside of this market who covers them extensively, they don't know anything. No. They're just copycatting what everybody else says.
It's a great point.
Parroting those talking points.
No, you're exactly right about that. And we know that's why when you hear somebody, they paint with the broad strokes. For Day back at the ranch, here is Arthur Smith, and he'll give you some takes on some dudes that he wanted to see play.
Guys I would have liked to have seen play tonight that weren't able to. So I wouldn't say all of them, but a lot of questions did.
Okay, so that's not really helping me as far as confidence. Lindstrom was out. Now, here's the thing. Now, maybe the one thing which, and I talked about this with Fricky yesterday, is maybe because Lindstrom was a little banged up and Dahlman also was resting during the week, that they didn't want to try to roll those guys out, and you're not going to put Ridder out there without the starting front line.
That makes sense, certainly, but there was still that second game where we could have maybe seen a little bit more of him than what we did.
Let's jump ahead for folks keeping score at home, and we'll go to cut 13. Arthur Smith, and here he's talking about what you're asking, first-team reps. Why don't we see more of them?
Every team's different where you're at, and you got to make decisions, what you think's best to get yourself ready for week 1 and evaluate and just where we're at, the way our schedule fell. After Monday, we had a couple guys nicked up, so it wasn't a regular season game. And so do you want to do a mash-up unit, which is considered, and then ultimately say, hey, let's make sure that we're as healthy as we can be and give these other guys out. So that helped make our decision.
So basically, you had two fifths of your O-line. Yeah. We're not good to go, and that's maybe why we didn't see what you guys wanted.
We've probably seen the last of Mr. Mayfield too, I guess. John Chuckery's favorite whipping.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to. We talked about this with Michael Rothstein from ESPN yesterday. when somebody loses their job at your office, you sit there and he walks in a parking lot. You loser. Unless the guy was a complete screw up and you had a vendetta against him in the office. I mean, yeah, you hate to see anybody lose their gig. But then again, this is a business and it's a result-driven business, and he's a third-round pick, and they gave him ample opportunity. I know he was thrown in big time in that first year out of position to play tackle, and then had to play guard because
horrible with the run, but terrible against fast.
But people. I will say this. Now I said, don't pile on. I'm going to pile on. People blow by him like he's not even there.
I know.
If you watch some of the isolation shots and stuff, you just rewind it on your DVR. It's hard to watch. It's just tough.
Well, one of the sacks on Heineke last night. I mean, he looked completely overmatched. It looked like he couldn't even move barely. No lateral movement whatsoever.
No, and it's funny because I used to argue with Chuck Reed about that because it's funny. The first time in my life I get the mock draft absolutely right on the Falcons. I had the first 3 picks. Mm-hmm. 2 of the 3 are still question marks. Richie Grant, I love his attitude, ball hawk, but curious to see what his role is going to be on this defense moving forward. And Mayfield, we're going to find out. But a lot of folks, it ain't long for this NFL world.